a car pulled up and he, nice looking guy, nice smile, decent car. So I'm like, creepy guys don't drive nice cars and have nice smiles,
right.
So he must be safe. And then I woke up and that's when the nightmare started. He had a connection of people that he could just sell me to.
Part of what makes me feel really confident is knowing what goes on in the world around me, because I believe that when we know better, we can do better. And no other cause means more to me than this one. So I've been an advocate to fight human trafficking for the past 8 years, especially because I believe that not a lot of people out there understand what trafficking involves. Who does it affect? How does it happen? There's so many questions around it. Recently, something amazing happened. I was awarded for my work within human trafficking.
It gives me a great pleasure to introduce my Pioneer Woman of the Year, Jeannie Mai.
And it was an unbelievable experience. But before we get into this, I just want to let you know that what we're going to be talking about is pretty serious. So this is a trigger warning. We're going to be talking about things that involve rape, assault, and abuse. So if this is too much for you, take care of yourself first and do what you need to do. I am a victim of sexual abuse myself. I'm actually wearing the exact colors, blue and green, of the colors that I wore the night things happened to me when I was abused at 9 years old. And the reason why every time I bring this up and talk about it, it's because I remember that night and when my abuser told me that I couldn't say anything because nobody's gonna believe me. He said in Vietnamese, đàn bà điên lắm, không bao giờ người ta tin đàn bà đâu, which means women are crazy. Women are way too emotional. You think they're gonna believe you? Go ahead, sit there and cry like you are right now and tell them. Let's see what happens. I always choose blue or green to wear. The reason why I choose those colors is because the night that things happened to me, I remember that that's all I saw when I was looking down at myself, and those colors were being taken off of me. And for a few years, I was really traumatized by those colors. Every time I saw flashes of blue or green, it brought me to the very visual of seeing my clothing being taken off of me. That happened until maybe I was about 22. And so I had to go through my own steps of therapy and self-love to get myself to a place where blue and green are colors now that represent the survivor that I am. I talk about blue and green a lot. I'll even want to decorate my house in blue and green. And I believe now that those colors are colors that we see in nature. Blue are healing waters of the ocean. Green are colors of life and trees and nature. One day, 8 years ago, I was on a trip to Vietnam. I have a family friend who's very close to us. She's like a cousin. I would send clothes to her from the US all the time, like my cute short dresses and fun, jeans that I would wear here. So she would wear my clothing. She would send me pictures on Facebook. She was so excited about it. And slowly I noticed the communication between us on Facebook became less and less. And when I would see pictures of her, I just noticed that she wore things a little bit more provocatively and her pictures looked a lot more dark. So I flew out to Vietnam and of course visited her. She just seemed a lot more sheltered about what she wanted to tell me. So my nosy self decided to spy on her. So I followed her when she took off for work and saw her walk into this huge dark building. And I tried to walk into the building. They wouldn't let me in. They only let men in. And I realized that this place was a brothel. My cousin was there as one of the working girls, along with many other girls that were between the ages of 8 to 26. And there were little boys that were working there too. I came up to my cousin and I told her what I had seen. And she admitted to me that 4 years ago, she had not chosen to work there, but that her uncle sold her into this place because he had a family debt that he couldn't pay off. I had never heard of anything like this, but here I saw this little girl, so innocent, so bright and cheerful. She just had a completely different disposition about her. Her eyes didn't focus on me. She didn't want to get her uncle in trouble. She didn't want to get her family in trouble. I had no place to go and I didn't understand how to help. I flew home to the US and I was talking to some of my friends about this and they said, Jeannie, it sounds like she's trafficked. And I was like, trafficked? I didn't even understand what that meant. Human trafficking is modern day slavery, which defines anybody who is held against their will to perform certain duties or to exchange certain forms of labor against their will. So I started signing up for different mission trips to understand what trafficking was about. I spent about 6 months in Thailand, actually living at a shelter that protected women who were rescued from trafficking. I also lived inside of a brothel
for about 2 months with 2 undercover girls who led me in there so that I could see exactly what type of exchanges happen, what type of clients or Johns come in there and shop these girls and children. After a few years of serving on these mission trips, working in shelters, talking to survivors, and being in the place where these things happen, I understood enough to then start speaking out about it, doing things like executive producing my first documentary a year ago called Stopping Traffic.
The guy brings in a spreadsheet. He says, well, what age girl do you want to buy?
Right off the bat, what I noticed was a lot of really sexy dressed young women and a lot of American guys. I really ask that you guys check it out. The most important reason behind this episode is to debunk some of the misconceptions out there about human trafficking. For example, that story about my cousin, when I came back and told that story, so many people looked at me, you know, just suspiciously like, why can't she just run? Even when my mom, she watched me pack for a trip to Vietnam, and she was like, Jeannie, these are sex workers. Like, these women are not trapped in slavery. This is women who walk the streets. This is what they do. Many people everywhere who see a person who works within sex think that they're automatically volunteering to do that. And that's a huge no. So I had to explain to my mom that some of these women and children are forced against their will to work in these conditions. They either have their lives at risk or they are being held in ransom for some exchange of money or some type of property. There are 27 million human beings today that are trafficked as we speak. Human trafficking brings a business of $32 billion a year, and each human being is sold for an average of $90. An average woman can be forced to serve 25 to 30 men a night. In the documentary that I executive produced, we interviewed one woman who was assaulted by 42,000 men before she was actually saved. That's crazy. But remember that behind every single number is a human being, a life, a story, a face, an aunt, a mother, a little kid that should be in school right now. When you boil it down to an actual person that you've met, it helps you to relate and understand better why this is something that needs our help. I want to share with you somebody who's very special, who actually came from her own story of sex trafficking. Her being able to be with us here today allows you to get just one of the millions of stories of how this can happen to one human being. My fam, I am so honored right now to introduce you to my dear friend Tika. Tika is an incredible public speaker and woman and fiery Comic-Con lover, and also a survivor of sex trafficking. When I heard your story, and you were so open and warm with me, which blew me away, how comfortable you were allowing me to ask questions to understand your story. How did you get to that place?
The more that I tell my story, the less power it has over me. My pain is now my purpose.
Yeah.
So it makes me more comfortable to talk about my story.
Where were you born, first of all?
I was born in New York, probably about when I was 3 years old. That's when we moved to California. We moved into basically a war zone, a neighborhood called the Jungles.
Who was Tika at that moment when you're living in the jungles?
Tika at that moment was trying to figure out what life was.
Did you feel content? Did you feel safe?
No. I have pushed back a lot of the things that have happened in my life.
Yeah.
So it comes up in spurts.
Like what?
Sexual assault by a family member.
How old were you at that time?
I think the first time I was about 6.
Okay. Oh my God.
We had to live in the same place that my uncle that was sexually assaulting me.
So you were just there, available to him all the time?
All the time. I had told my mother what had happened to me, and she called my grandmother, and my grandmother said that I was lying. So it was very painful because it's like, who else do I go to? Who's gonna care for me now?
Yeah.
No one. So I got in trouble at school a couple times. Instead of me facing what was gonna happen, I would run away. Probably about the 3rd time that I ran away from home, I was just walking around the neighborhood, and it was probably about 12 o'clock, like midnight, and it was starting to drizzle. A car pulled up, and he, nice looking guy, nice smile, decent car. So I'm like, creepy guys don't drive nice cars and have nice smiles, so he must be safe.
Right.
And then he asked if I wanted to just sit in the car until the rain stopped. So I was cold. and wet. So I was like, okay.
Sounds okay.
Sounds okay.
Yeah.
You seem like a safe person.
Right.
This is a 12-year-old saying this.
And it's just for the rain.
It's just
a
for the
moment.
rain. Exactly. From there, he was like, you know, what's your name? You know, what do you like? What kind of music do you like? So I was like, oh, okay. This is okay.
Yeah.
He noticed that I was still nervous, and he was like, well, would you want to smoke some weed? I've never tried any drugs before, but I knew the effects of drugs.
Yes.
Some of my cousins smoke weed.
It seems more casual.
You know, they're a little chill, little,
Yeah.
you know, munchies, little, you know, probably take a nap.
This is 12, by the way. I just want to remind you, this is 12.
This is 12. I accepted the invitation.
Okay.
And at first I was like, okay, this doesn't affect me. And then I woke up, and that's when the nightmare started. So the guy had tied me up, and I woke up because there was some moisture that was dripping on my face, and I was trying to wipe it off, and I couldn't because my hands were tied. A guy was raping me. I tried to scream, and I would get punched in the face until I was unconscious. I don't even know how long I was gone or how long I was with this guy.
Yeah.
But it was constant. I was prepared to die. A lot of it is still a blur. I try to remember some of it, but like you said, the flashes of color.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just.
Isn't that weird?
It's like, for me, it was just like light, darkness, light, darkness. I didn't even sleep, you know, at this one particular day. And this guy walks in, and the door flies open, and he's like, what the hell are you doing here? Because I was in an abandoned apartment building.
Right.
And I'm just like, I'm not telling you anything until you get me out of here.
Yeah.
Because I was in such bad shape, I had to literally crawl into the back seat of his car. I don't know where he was going.
This is a separate guy.
This is a separate person.
Okay.
He stopped at a strip mall. I don't even know what city I was in. I like stumbled down the street. Didn't want to go home.
Right.
Didn't call the police and tell them what.
Oh my God.
You know?
So now you're away from the man who tied you up and abused you, but now you're wandering with no place to go and knowing that home isn't safe either. So now what happens?
Guy number 2 pulls up. Are you okay? Here we go again.
Yeah.
But he at first tried to, you know, tell me like, oh, come over to my mom's house, you know, let me get you cleaned up. And so I, being trusting at that age, I was like, what can be worse than what I just left?
Right.
Right. And so I went to his house. He, you know, made sure I ate, you know, let me take a bath and just let me be for a few days. He got some money, and we went to a motel.
Okay.
That's when I started to open up to him and tell him what I just endured.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, this time you don't have to be tied up. So it was going right back into it all over again with a slight false sense of empowerment, because now I don't have to be tied up. I can kind of be in control.
It was the perfect touch of manipulation so that you don't feel like you're trapped because you're almost opting for the lesser
of the evils. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So now you're in a situation where you're being forced to work for sex.
Well, in my mind at that time, I wasn't being forced into it.
Right,
being
you're right,
forced
you're
into
right.
it is being beaten and being
And
drugged
tied.
and tied up.
Yes.
That was the force part of it.
You're right.
This time it seems like it's more of a choice.
Sure.
I made the choice, even though I was manipulated. It was a little different because I wasn't on the streets at that time. He had a connection of people that he could just sell me to. Wash up, put my hair in a ponytail, put on some lip gloss and probably an eyeliner, and pull up to a door, and he tells me, knock on the door, you know, get the money and
Would you hear the amount of exchange that he was selling you for?
No. At that time, I was already conditioned just to
Just do your job.
do my job.
Did you ever think of taking off? Was there ever a way that you could escape him?
But go where?
Yeah.
Without knowing, I understood the game. I was a minor. I couldn't get a hotel room. I couldn't get an apartment.
Yeah.
There were no youth shelters at that time for me to go to. We worked every day, all day, you know.
Right.
As women, we have a little friend that visits us every month.
Yes.
We still have to work during that time.
Yes.
There was no help out of it. Prostitution, you were a criminal.
How many years does this
go on for?
Being under a pimp's control from the age of 12 to the age of 18, trying to find a regular job was not going to happen for me at that time.
Right.
So I've started to victimize myself, working as a sex worker from the age of 18 to the age of 23. Now working for self, I'm not working for anyone else. So
in your mind, this is the best case scenario.
Exactly. I have leveled up.
How many men did you actually have to service between 12 and 23?
I couldn't even tell you, to be completely honest. And there were a lot of diseases, there were a lot of rapes, but I have dodged the bullet of contracting HIV or AIDS, which is, it's amazing to me.
Yeah.
Because of how many times that I've been raped. I stopped counting at 15. It's something that happens. You know, it's a part of the job, basically. Right. I will always have complications if I'm trying to, you know, have a child because of the things that happened to me in the past. It was very hard for me at first.
Yeah.
But now, doing the work that I do, and especially talking to the youth, I understand why I don't have kids or I can't have kids. It's because I need to be a mother to all the other kids that need me as a third parent or an extra parent or an extra person to care or to love for them. I understand why.
How did you get out?
So it was a transition for me. I was renting an upstairs of a man's house.
Okay.
And I met his granddaughter. And, you know, she kind of took to me pretty fast.
Yeah.
And she always wanted to be near me. And then I met her father. He started to get to know me. And he told me, like, I can't have someone engaged in this type of activity. And I have a little girl that I'm trying to raise. For something that I wanted for a long time, which was family, that was my out for me. I couldn't do it for myself. I had to do it for these kids and for a family. I learned a lot from him. You know, I tell him that you saved my life. Because if I didn't have that family in my life, I probably would have kept going. And something would have happened.
Wow. So what was the first step you took?
I just stopped there and worked at Wendy's. Was my very first job. It was a part-time job at that. So I was making less than $1,000 a month.
Wow.
I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
It was okay. I mean, I didn't like smelling like fries every day,
yeah.
But I didn't have to worry about being robbed, you know. I didn't have to worry about contracting an STD.
At that moment, your life changed. You took that upon yourself to do so. Did you have any part of that circuit, that network, following you?
I've been known on the streets since I was 12, 13 years old.
Yeah.
I was afraid of the people that would recognize me, that were either other victims or other pimps, right, or even the Johns. You know, I was afraid that someone will come up to me and say, I paid to have sex
for
with
sure,
you.
Yeah. That must be so haunting to always have to worry about that behind you too.
It was.
Yeah.
And now it's the complete opposite.
Right.
It's something that I don't have to worry about because now I'm in charge of my own story.
Right, right.
I'm the one that's out and saying, this is the worst parts of me.
Yeah.
This is what I did. You know, so no one can ever say any of those things. I did it. No. What you did was you were having sex with an underage child, more than likely.
Yeah.
And you should be under the jail.
Yeah.
So they're not going to expose themselves in any way, whether it's pimp or a John,
yeah, because
they know that I have a platform now. This is what true empowerment is. To be in control of my own narrative of my own life. There's nothing better than this moment now.
You just came full circle with something I recently learned, which is, I always call it own you before they do. Meaning whatever it is that is your truth, you have to own that, because the moment you do, nobody can take that power by telling you something about yourself that you're already in processing.
And I'm cool with it.
You know what I mean?
You know, you're trying to come at me with something that you feel that I should be ashamed of.
Right.
But your shame is greater than how I feel about myself.
Yes.
I'm okay.
Yes.
You need therapy. You know, that's how I feel about those people.
And that story, whatever it was that you went through, as dark as it might be, is part of your power. You said that your pain is your purpose.
My pain is my purpose.
So nobody can take that purpose from you and try to make it their power by shaming you about something that, no, that's part of your power.
I've been through the worst of my life as a child.
Wow.
So if my car breaks down, I don't know, I get audited by the IRS, you know, it's okay. I've been through worse. If I can survive being kidnapped, drugged, beaten, tortured.
You can take on anything.
Except for the 405 traffic.
That's the only thing
I can't deal with. But other than that, I mean, I've been through the worst already, so everything else is fine. My life is amazing right now.
Yeah.
You know, I'm happy, I'm healthy. I have a great relationship with my family now.
Yes.
My job shows me that I'm able to use my story and my pain to connect with others.
You wouldn't be a manager for a crisis hotline today. You wouldn't be able to take these stories in and help so many women and people that are trapped in these situations.
You know, everyone asks me, what's your passion and what's your purpose? My passion is business. I love business. I love the negotiating, you know, and I tell women that have been in the life, you have the skills to be and do anything that you absolutely want to do. There was a comedian that did a skit about a woman that was a sex worker, and she's like, I've never had a job.
Yeah.
What do I put on my resume? You work well under pressure.
Yes.
You're a multitasker.
You're an amazing negotiator.
You're an amazing negotiator.
Yeah.
So it's like I played that clip for my ladies to break the ice a little bit and to make them feel more comfortable. But I tell them, no, but this seriously. You have to really think about that. You have worked in the most hectic and chaotic situations possible, and you survived it. You're still here. At the same time, the work that I do now, I didn't choose it. I didn't want to become a survivor of human trafficking. It happened. I tell everyone who's ever been through anything, if you have attempted suicide, if you are a survivor of rape, of domestic violence, a parent or a family member died, you know, you are an expert on that pain. You have the ability to help someone else through that pain that they're going through at that moment, because you have experienced that pain and you have overcome it.
Right.
Girl, I am no one special.
Yeah.
If I can overcome it and be in the place that I'm in now, you should be able to surpass me with flying colors.
Tika, you shared in a TED Talk that when you were going through that moment in your life that it felt like you were in and out of a life. Tell us what to look out for to anybody else who may have trouble understanding that.
If they're a young person and they're coming in and out of the house at odd times of the night, if they're dressing a little differently than they did before, if they're withdrawn from certain activities that they used to love before, let's say sports or science, something, anything, that could be a small flag to look out for. If you see any tattoos, a lot of the symbols that they used that are people that are engaging in either prostitution or victims of human trafficking will be crowns, stars, dollar signs. It could be derogative sayings like money before hoes. There could be barcodes. The name of their pimp, king something with a crown on it. Bruises, sleep deprived, hungry, not able to stay awake. If you know that person and you start to see changes in that person, don't ask what's wrong with you, ask what happened to you. That's a more empathetic way of finding out what's going on with someone. Sometimes as adults, especially if the person is younger than us, we want to talk to them and we don't want to listen. If someone is saying that I need to talk to you, just shut up and listen.
Right.
Because that will mean so much to someone, especially who has had their voice silenced.
Yeah. Especially
victims of human trafficking, they're not allowed to speak out of place, out of turn. Don't judge.
Yeah.
Meet them where they are. If they're in a place and they say, this is what I want to do, I like it, say, okay, but when you need me, I'm here. When you're ready, I will make sure that I'll do the research and I'll find out what organizations are available to you.
Fam, part of Tika's way of turning her pain into power today, she actually works as a crisis hotline case manager. So every day you're talking to different women and different survivors out there, maybe even men,
Yes.
who come to you to figure out what the hell they should do. What should they do now with all this information after learning your story? What does the average person do with this information?
If you see something, do not approach the situation. Do not approach the situation. Call law enforcement, 911, or if you know the non-emergency number, contact them. But a lot of police stations aren't up to date on human trafficking.
Right.
And understanding what that looks like and what that means. This is still relatively new.
Yes.
It's probably like 10 years old.
Right,
You know, call the National Human Trafficking Hotline.
Yeah.
And you can give an anonymous tip.
Yep.
And tell them what it is that you see. Try and remember any license plate numbers, any distinctive marks like tattoos or what have you. If they are a family member or a close friend, see if you can get a current picture of them if you know that they're engaging in this type of activity. Anything that may seem very small can help save someone's life.
You just acknowledged that it's only been 10 years that trafficking has been recognized as one of the largest forms of dark crime today. Guys, there are more slaves today in modern day slavery than ever in the history of slavery. You told me once that your favorite word is
Understanding.
how can we be more understanding in general?
Empathy, especially nowadays, where the climate of society is a little all over the place.
Yeah.
Where people are pointing fingers at other people, saying that, you know, you're the bad person. People that are considered bad weren't born that way. Certain situations brought people to the place that they're in. If we just try to understand and accept what we have understood, we wouldn't have all this chaos that we're having in the world right now.
Totally.
With understanding comes empathy.
Yes.
And that's where we need to get to.
When we feel confident enough to not have to make it about us and our judgment, but to actually just sit back and understand whatever the other person's situation is. To listen, not to listen to reply.
Exactly.
Right? I really believe that in life, 10% of it is what happens to you. 90% of it is what you do with it, how you react to it. So not only in your story, Tika, but in what you do after you watch this episode, however you feel moved, whether it's learning more about human trafficking. I'm going to put your TED Talk because you have to listen to it, it's sick. Put your link here. I'm also going to put the link to the Stopping Traffic documentary. It's an amazing documentary with a great team of women that made it. Please check that out. And all the comments below, you're gonna read it, I'm gonna read it. Please keep this an open dialogue. I love you for sharing your story. Thank you so much, seriously.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here for this. I also am gonna take her to a hip hop class because we both like 90s hip hop. We also both have crushes on Method Man, even though she happens to believe that Method Man's first album, To Cal, was about Tika, if you drop the L. That girl right here.
Word.
Thank you so much for watching, my fam. We love you guys. Thank you, Tika, for being here. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that subscribe button, and comment below. We want to hear your thoughts.